Yeah, our prediction is that Bitcoin's going to get over $200,000 by the end of the year. What's happening right now is you have a huge amount of good news in Bitcoin. You have a US strategic reserve where the government now owns Bitcoin. You have improvements on the regulatory front. You have institutional adoption. You may be wondering, why aren't prices higher? The reason is we've had a bunch of economic uncertainty that's caused not just Bitcoin, but all risky assets to fall. Stocks are down substantially. So the market has dipped, but I think over time, as that economic volatility subsides, you're going to see all that good news catch up to Bitcoin, and it's going to propel it to new all-time highs and indeed above $200,000 for the year.
In today's video, Matt Hougan explains why he believes Bitcoin is on track to surpass $200,000 by the end of the year, and what conditions need to fall into place for that prediction to come true. He dives into the surge in institutional demand, the growing role of Bitcoin in the U.S. strategic reserve, and how both governments and corporations could drive the next major rally. He also discusses broader market risks, such as a potential recession, and shares a surprising take on XRP and its possible future in the crypto space. Let's catch up with Matt to hear the full breakdown.
What do we have to see? Like, is there a sign that we have to see for all that to happen?
Yeah, there are two things to keep your eye on. So one, Bitcoin's price is set by supply and demand, and we all know the supply, right? There'll only be 21 million. We only make 165,000 new ones a year. So you have to watch the demand. The three things to watch are ETFs gaining inflows, are corporations like MicroStrategy and Metaplanet continuing to buy Bitcoin, and our government's buying Bitcoin. If those three things happen, I think the $200,000 target is a lock. So I would keep your eye on that. It would help if the economy improves, if we don't enter a recession, that would help. But it's really about, does the demand materialize in the way I think it will? Every sign that I see suggests that ETFs are buying, corporations are buying, and governments are buying. That's why I'm so bullish, but they have to keep buying in order for us to get to that $200,000 target.
You said they keep on buying. At what scale are we talking?
Yeah, so last year ETFs bought 500,000 Bitcoin. Again, remember, the Bitcoin network only produced 165,000 Bitcoin. So it bought 3 times the total supply. Corporations bought 250,000 Bitcoin. Governments, I think this year could buy a couple 100,000 Bitcoin. So I think if you look at those 3 sources, I think they'll buy more than 1 million Bitcoin this year. And where is it going to come from? The only place it can come from is people who already hold Bitcoin. The only way they will sell is if the price goes up. That's why I'm so bullish on the market.
Sorry, government? Which branch of the government?
Look, the US already established a strategic Bitcoin reserve, right? It already holds $17 billion in Bitcoin. And the executive order from President Trump told the Secretary of Commerce and the Secretary of Treasury to figure out ways to acquire more Bitcoin without impacting the tax holder. How could they do that? They could sell some of the gold that the US has. They could sell other crypto assets that the US has and plow that into Bitcoin. I think we're going to see that happen this year. I think the US is going to increase, and not just the US. We found out that Abu Dhabi bought $500 million of Bitcoin. We've gotten calls from multiple other governments that are investigating Bitcoin. I think you're going to see 10, maybe more governments around the world make their first allocation to Bitcoin this year. It's happening. People aren't talking about it that much, but it's happening and it's a very big deal.
I want to get your comment on the crypto stockpile. Why do you think they pick Solana, Ethereum, Cardano, and XRP?
Yeah, first it's important to remember that there's a difference between the strategic reserve, which is Bitcoin only, and this crypto asset stockpile. My base case is that they looked at the market and they took the largest assets, right? Those are essentially the largest assets, excluding a few assets, excluding Binance Coin, excluding Tron. So
Doge.
Excluding Doge, yes, they didn't want Doge. But it's maybe the largest sort of US-centric blockchains. I don't think there's more to it than that. But I think the strategic reserve is the big deal. The stockpile is just going to hold those assets. The strategic reserve, I think, is going to go out into the market and end up acquiring more Bitcoin. I think that's a very big deal.
What is going to happen once we have a recession?
Recessions negatively impact all risk assets until the government decides to provide economic support.
So Bitcoin is a risk asset?
It is a risk asset in the short term. So if we look like we're driving into a recession and the government doesn't look like it's going to lower interest rates or provide quantitative easing or fiscal support, that will be negative for Bitcoin. That could send us back to the $72,000 level. It could send us potentially below that. But my guess is that governments will come in and support the economy. I think we've made it very difficult to have a real recession. I know we're talking tough in the US, but I think the government will ultimately blink. I think you'll see that in Europe. You're already seeing Germany doing that. I think you'll see that in parts of Asia. You're seeing economic stimulus in China right now. I think that's going to grow. So ultimately, I think we'll blink before we get a big recession. But if we do enter a severe recession, my $200,000 target probably won't happen. That would be challenging for Bitcoin.
XRP.
Yeah.
You filed for an XRP ETF, but let's say for the crypto community, it's not considered the sexy bet,
That's right.
I want to know your thought, why XRP, and maybe just a low forecast?
Yeah, sure. The way I think about XRP is it's proven a few things. It's a blockchain that's worked for a very long period of time. It's extremely low cost to operate. It processes high amounts of transaction volume at very low cost and has a strong community. The problem with XRP is it hasn't developed its primary use cases. It was designed to be a B2B blockchain, right? Business to business transactions, international payments. That really hasn't materialized. I would argue the reason it hasn't materialized is it faced a major lawsuit from the SEC, existential regulatory threat, and now we get to see what it can do. There's no guarantee that it succeeds. I think it's entirely possible that you would come back and do an interview in 2 years and nothing happened on XRP, the ETF didn't gather assets and the asset is down. But I think what the crypto community misses is it's also possible that now that they're able to try to execute on their strategy, that they in fact succeed. And you're seeing significant technological progress on the XRP ledger. So I would say it's a divisive coin for a reason, which is there are worlds where it amounts to nothing and worlds where it's very successful. We'll see which world materializes in the next few years, but people who guarantee it will be a huge success are wrong, and people who guarantee it will go to zero are also wrong. We think it's in the middle.
I'm going to send you a calendar invite. We'll interview you in 2 years.
There you go. I'm in. I'm in.
2-year follow-up.
Let's do it.
Just on the follow-up to Bonnie's question, so tell us a bit more about this ETF. Actively managed, passively managed, how does it work?
Yeah, so we can't talk much about the ETP beyond what's in the filing, but what's in the filing is it's an ETP that will hold XRP in cold storage. It's passively managed. It's just an exposure vehicle. Some people can buy crypto directly. That's great. We love it, particularly people who self-custody. We think that's fantastic. Other people need an ETP, and so we designed these wrappers to make it easy for traditional investors to access the space.
Are people asking for it?
Yeah, again, yes, absolutely. I know in crypto it's a divisive market, but the thing about divisive market is there are cadres of fans. There are people who want an XRP ETF, absolutely. There are people who wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, and there are people who will embrace it like it was, a teddy bear. I think both of those will exist in the market.
Speaking of ETFs, there's a growing debate as to whether or not actively managed ETFs or passively managed ETFs will become more dominant in the future. We're not talking about specifically XRP, ETPs, or just crypto ETFs. ETFs overall. What's your viewpoint?
So I am an index-based investor. My core view is that the thing I'm most confident about in crypto, more than anything else, is that crypto, the industry, will be much more important in the future than it is today. That this will be a 10, 20, $30 trillion market. That's what I feel the most If that's what you're confident about, just buy an index fund, because you're going to get that 10x appreciation. You won't have to pick and choose assets. I think active will have a place too, because it's definitely an inefficient market and they're very smart managers who can pick and choose assets. Those managers just aren't me. So for my bet, index-based investing is the right bet for most people, but for sure there's going to be a vibrant active market, and we know some great active managers out there. There's space for both to exist.
Meme coin ETFs?
Basically, no. Look. I actually have I have a warm place in my heart for Doge, the original meme. The problem with meme coins, there are two. They come and go. They're ephemeral, and then they're controlled by insiders who rug people. Most meme coins you should avoid, like the plague. Dogecoin has been around for a while, and there are no insiders, so it's fine. But it's not the future of finance. The future of finance is being built on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and a few other assets. Those are the serious assets. People could speculate on certain meme coins, but it's mostly not for me.
If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We got more exciting and insightful content coming your way.